mountain, about 9,800 feet, hunting for elk. Found a little tree propped up. I'm gonna flip the camera and give you my view right now. So that was my first morning on the hunt. But let's take it back a day or two before. We traveled from Mississippi to a place called Walden, Colorado, which is a pretty long trek. We first had to stop by Denver and check in at the airport to pick up a friend who was going to go hunting with us. It was my first time in the Denver airport. I thought the roof was pretty cool to accommodate for snow. Then we were back on the road. I was pretty impressed with the Rockies. My first time seeing the Rockies in person. A lot of very beautiful views. Got just west of Denver and this happened. Well guys, we're here in just a little west of Denver on our way to Walden. Had a little truck trouble, so we're temporarily on the side of the road. But man, look at this view. If you got a breakdown, which we are, you want to do it in a place like this. It's pretty awesome. Weather's nice too. Beautiful out here. After a couple of hours of sitting on the side of the road and being accompanied by a Department of Transportation officer from Colorado, finally got a wrecker out to where we were, loaded up the pickup to go to a local shop to be fixed, and then we had to ride in the wrecker back to Denver.
We're probably going to have to rent a vehicle.
Finally found a hotel in Denver, and this was something I just wanted to add in. Middle of the night, fire alarm randomly goes off. No big deal, just part of the trip, right? Before we knew it, we were back on the road in a rental truck and winding up the side of the mountains the next day. The views were just incredible. Every curve we took around the mountain roads, I was just more and more amazed at the views of the snow-capped peaks. Before I knew it, we were at base camp. About to head up the mountain, scout it out a little bit. So the first evening we took the rental pickup to the top of what we call Owl Mountain, which is where we were hunting at. And just were trying to scout out some good spots for the next morning, places that we could hunt and potentially see a few elk. I did not buy or draw for a mule deer tag. I just specifically bought an elk tag. Almost 10,000 feet. This was my view the next morning from 9,000 plus feet. So the wind's pretty intense, and I sat in the wind for about an hour and a half, and I am moving now down the ridge, down this ridge here, get out of the wind. Try a new spot. I've seen a lot of tracks and a couple of paths and trails where you can see that they move and walk at. So I'm gonna head down to this little stand of trees here, probably, and set up to be able to watch this ridge on this side as well as this little clearing here. So after the morning hunt, we went back to base camp. We realized we were running short on firewood, so leave it to these guys to find a tree and cut it down. Chop it up for more firewood.
Hey, I didn't turn my camera on.
Look at there, son.
That boy had raised one before, indeed.
Pull her open there.
I don't want that to lose.
Well,
Ain't no good.
all right, how y'all want to cut it? What, you gonna have to work my mechanic fees off? I said, yep, that's right. He looked around in there and he said, I had a Volkswagen sitting over and he said, cool, I get to work on a Volkswagen. I said, no, you get to bust some wood. He said, I don't know how to bust wood. I said, that's why I'm here. He was looking at it. He got him a running go, boy. Come down, hit that song gun, and it jarred him all. He come up, went to shaking his hand. He looked down at it again. I said, boom, 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 beat on that door. I said, you're going to have to hit that thing.
Guys, this is my hunt spot for this evening. I'm about to go down to that stand of trees there and cross over to that next clearing. Just kind of tracking around, see what I can find. I mean, the snow, we're at about 9,900, 10,000 feet. Snow is just powder snow. So when you kick it, I mean, you get chunks that roll off and keep rolling. Like that one right there. So just powder snow, tracks everywhere. So hoping to see one this evening. You got those little mounds you got to go over.
I asked you about, did you see it? And then I told you when me and Rich went through there, I never did see it. It's on the other road over there. The lookout.
The next road. Instead of taking that road,
It's getting close, ain't it?
Road, go past it. There's another road down there. It's 21.
He's headed into his show and they hollered, Jeff, I got a joke for you. And he said, man, you know, I got to get on the stage. I don't have time. And he said, we get to looking around in the ditch. And he said, my brother was the lucky one. He found him. Here he is. He ain't tore up or nothing. He said, and that's about the time the beaver come alive. And he said, his head was right here. And he said,
So he dropped me off at my hunting spot, but the sun's not up yet. So I'm waiting in the dark on this trail till the sun comes up. So I just grabbed a seat. So you can't see much right now. Sun's still coming up. There, you can see it to the east over there. Sitting on a little trail here that I'll be walking in a few minutes to head to a clearing. And here's where the wind kicked in. This was definitely one of the most windy mornings of the whole hunting trip. Up to this point, needless to say, didn't have an elk yet, but enjoyed our time back at camp. Great food, great stories, and then it was back out for another morning hunt in this spot, which, like I said, was super windy. And this was the evening hunt. So I've been hunting over this bottom for a few hours this evening. Haven't seen any elk, but I've seen a big mule deer buck and 3 mule deer doe. I don't have a mule deer tag, so I couldn't shoot it, but it was nice. And other than that, I've not really seen much. No elk so far, but got a little bit more daylight left, so gonna hang around and see if we can spot something before the sun goes down.
and Fatty come up that window. He said, Larry, will you ride my four-wheeler back? Let me ride with Dale in there. So he jumped in. Larry, boy, he just always wanting to do something like that. He jumped on that four-wheeler. His old jacket was in the wind, so.
Fatty told him, remember what Fatty told him?
He didn't tell
Fatty let him get a little way.
Oh, he didn't tell him?
He didn't tell him.
Didn't tell him. Well, we just flying, you know, and you got to know where we meet. We don't have a camp house. We
Big
meet
tree.
the curve at the big tree. And I mean, the pastor's been there. There's trucks. You come around that curve, you got to stop. And everybody done beat us back over there.
Most time the whole road
The whole
blocked.
road, and they had a bank pushed up out there that's important to know to keep us out of the cutover out there. Well, anyway, old Larry's flying, that jacket's in the wind. Fatty's talking to me, and he's warming up. And we get almost to the tree, and Fatty looks at me and said, I didn't tell Larry that four ain't got no brakes. I said, what? So we flew up behind him. Now, we had no audio, but we had the best visual you've ever seen.
I missed this. I was behind them. I come up and caught the ass.
I was standing there watching the whole thing.
So, son, the ones that was there had the audio. We couldn't hear because, son, I was blowing the horn. And I flew right, I mean, he has got this four-wheeler in the wind, son. Comes around the curve, and when he come around the curve, the road was blocked. The big tree trail was blocked. There's cars. There's probably 15 cars, 10 people. They already loading up. Old Monty Jackson's peg leg, son. He got a going. He's out there. He was on his four-wheeler going up some ramps. Well, son, what happened when he tried to hit them brakes and there wasn't none? Larry panicked. He never let off the gas. They said all he hollered was, "No brakes! No brakes! No brakes!" And what he did, I mean, it would be like running right through here at 60. Son, he went and missed everybody. People was jumping. It was the funniest 5 seconds of your life. Went through everything and managed to miss everybody, but hit that bank. Now, let me tell you about that bank. That bank was this high, and if you walked up and analyzed it, you'd think, you can't even get the front end of that four-wheeler up, son. It would just be a head-on. It was that steep. We've all got a little evil Knievel. You ain't never been this bold. That sucker hit that bank and got that four-wheeler up. So, evil Knievel would have been jealous. I mean, airborne ain't the word, son. The bank was so high we couldn't even see over the bank, so we was all laughing already. So running, he could have been dead, and we was laughing. That was the funniest joke. We run up the bank there, and Larry's somewhere, and he's holding his gut. And I made Fatty's four-wheeler is tore to crap. It has the handlebars has been on it. Front, I mean, he just destroys his four-wheeler. I run up to him and we laughing when I get up there. Larry, you all right? He said, I ain't winding back over that bank. So hey, we measured it, remember? 30 feet. The boy was airborne. He rolled way down here. But you can see where the four-wheeler made the first hit. That sucker ran the 500 four-wheeler 30 feet.
We enjoyed a great night at camp. Then it was off to hunt the next morning. Had a little snow before daylight. So it's just after daylight and snowing a little bit. Supposed to accumulate some this morning. We're going to stay out till, I don't know, 11 o'clock-ish. And to see what we see. I'm walking down a pretty thick area of trees to get down to a bottom. Same place I hunted yesterday, and set up camp right there and just sit down and wait on the elk for a while. This was definitely one of the most beautiful views, if not the most beautiful view I got the entire trip. There's nothing like a sunrise over the Rocky Mountains, overlooking some snow-covered trees. Even if I didn't see an elk, that was beautiful. And then further on into the day, it began to snow more. So we jumped in the truck to just do some scouting and see what we could find and look at some different spots that we had not yet hunted. We did take a little trip through the valley area that kind of runs near Walden. And then we did spot a couple of nice-sized mule deer bucks on a hillside here. The unfortunate part was we were hunting public land, and at the time that we saw the bucks, they had just crossed over a fence line into some private land. Unfortunately, we did not know who owned the land, and we weren't able to obviously get in touch with them to see if we would have permission to kind of hunt that area. So we just had to watch from a distance as they walked the other way.
Yeah, I know where
Be done.
God, that one's a giant.
And the second one's a good buck. They're both 4x4s.
And it continued to snow, so we just continued to scout. This was just a view from the top of a pretty high ridge. You could see for so far on a clear day, but even pretty far on a snowy day. Before we knew it, the trip was over, and we began our journey back. We headed into Walden, which is a small town, just to fuel up one last time before we hit the road to travel back. On the route back, we went through Wyoming, Nebraska, a few other states, and hit some pretty steep grades with some icy conditions on the roads. Came across a couple of people who had
Got horses in there.
not as good of luck as we did. Thankfully, in this crash, the drivers weren't in the vehicle. They had gotten their horses out and tied off up at a tree up here, if you can see it, with the orange vest. So even though didn't come out of Colorado with an elk, man, it was a great trip, learning experience. Got to see some beautiful views, even all the way back home. And got stories to tell for a long time. Maybe we'll make it back out one day and get an elk next time.